Jimmy da Jimmy.
I have Anuja Amin with me. Good morning, Anuja. How are you doing?
Thank you, Jimmy. I'm doing well, thank you.
So good to hear that, and so nice to hear a chirpy little voice in the morning. Are you a morning person?
I have been forced to be one ever since I have two children.
Okay. All right. Yeah, the reason I'm reaching out to you is because you started Circles of Safety sometime in 2015. Okay, actually, why don't you tell us what Circles of Safety does?
So, in a nutshell, we sensitize the community on prevention of child sexual abuse. So basically, we're committed to raising an informed generation of children who, know about, body literacy. And so that's essentially what we do. And we do this in three ways. We believe in educating the community. So that's the name where it comes from. We believe that the circles around the child need to be informed on, what the realities of child sexual abuse are. What are the myths? How do you bust them? How do you spot any boundary violations? How do you stop it? Stuff like that. So educating the community, number one.
Right.
Second, because the circles around the child will be empowered, then they will be able to empower the children and pass on safety messages to them, body literacy, etc. And finally, what we're saying is, because of this process, we will have a more enriched community with strengthened bonds and increased communication. So that is our goal, really.
Okay. Now, this all sounds wonderful. But I just want to break this down a bit for my listeners. There were two terms that you used. One was body literacy and one is body boundaries. Now, I can guess what this means, but can you tell us more explicitly what this really means?
Okay. So very simply, body literacy would be, know the ABCs of your body. Very simply, for any adult, it is use the correct names of body parts.
Okay.
Many times we use these made up names. So that needs to go out.
Okay.
So there should be no shame around your body. A child must know and be educated about what they're about. At the end, it's about them. Body boundaries, yes. So, many times I tell children, imagine if you spread out your arms, you have this invisible bubble around you, right? And that is like your body boundary in a way. And so there are times where we are so happy to let others, be part of this body boundary. For instance, if you've fallen down and your mom hugs you, then maybe that something is welcome and that's your body boundary that you're okay to break.
Okay.
And there are times when it's not. So that's your body boundary that children need to know.
Now, whenever we talk about child sexual abuse or more importantly, teaching the child about recognizing abuse, and it can be it can be very gentle as well, the abuse. The two terms that I've heard very often used are good touch and bad touch. Is there anything more that you teach children about apart from good touch and bad touch?
Thank you so much for bringing that up. That is the most commonly used term that I have seen being thrown around, good and bad touch. And what at Circles of Safety, what we say is, please don't use good and bad touch, because essentially it's assuming that all bad touch should feel bad. But,
right.
All bad touch does not necessarily feel bad. Our body is physiologically programmed to respond to touch.
Right.
So when we tell children they should feel bad, and it's somebody who knows them well, it's, many times abusers are, in 90% of the cases, somebody a child knows or in that
Correct.
circle of trust.
Yeah.
So when it's somebody they know and it has not felt bad, then in fact they end up having shame and guilt, and they may not come and talk to you about it. So that's another reason why we don't want to use these terms. Instead, use safe and unsafe touch. Use confusing touch. This makes it very clear. And also another additional reason for not using good and bad is you're assuming that, say, a very young child, till 8, children don't know these moral distinctions.
Yes.
And you're asking them to make a moral distinction of bad and good.
Right.
We don't want those labels.
Right.
So
Okay.
safe, unsafe, confusing, using examples would be great to use. You're
Okay.
good to go.
The kind of work that you do, one of the most important part of that is doing curriculum work in school. When you say you do curriculum work in school, what exactly do you mean? What are you doing in schools, and who are you teaching, and what are you teaching?
Okay. So We piloted this comprehensive sexuality education curriculum in 2019 towards the end, and then the pandemic hit. So we are just, doing a lot of this work now with schools, piloting, seeing how it works. Essentially, what this curriculum is about is from grades 1 to 12, we have developed these lesson plans where children can be taught through their teachers and their school systems, can be taught about everything to do with sexuality. It's not just about your genitals. And, many people make sexuality education just about puberty. Well, it goes far beyond that because it's got everything that concerns us, our relationships, who we are, how we feel about ourselves, how we express ourselves. So right from gender stereotypes to, even talking about various sexualities and gender identities, all of this has been put together comprehensively, age appropriately for schools to teach their children, and parents and other adult caregivers are very much part of, very important stakeholders in this curriculum.
Right.
So what we're saying is, as a community, let's educate our children.
Okay, so I'm going to pick your brains a little bit over here because, I don't know how many people will have access to that and how long it will take before they have access to that. The first step to creating that circle of safety is what, and how do you create that?
Okay, great question. First step is educate yourself, because your choices determine your child's safety, right? So first you need to educate yourself on everything in terms of what are the myths of child sexual abuse, the warning signs, like I said, how do you spot behavior that may be, something you need to be wary of, and then how do you stop it? Then you need to learn to respond sensitively, because, many a times we think, when this will happen, then I'm going to be there for my child. But it starts with the little things. How you react to the little things every day with your child, how do you deal with their secrets, their other communication, is what is going to determine if they talk to you about the big things. Right. So I feel like it starts in your home, These attitudes where you're being more supportive, where you're listening proactively, you're untabooing sexuality in general. You're being more open to these conversations at home. If your child asks you an awkward question, which is considered awkward, something about the genitals or, what is this or that, how are you going to respond to that?
Right.
That is what's going to determine what's going to happen few years down the line. When there's a movie scene on TV, are you going to flip channels? Or are you going to embrace it and use it as a teachable moment?
Right.
That is what's going to determine that sort of communication later. And so what we say is embrace these moments rather than wish them away. Very simply, that's how I would start.
Okay. And where does one find resources for all the myths about child sexual abuse? You spoke about a bunch of them, things to do. Where can people find these resources?
So Circles of Safety has developed free resources for the community. You can hop onto our website, www.circlesof.safety.com. And once you're there, if you go to our Take Action Resources tab, they're freely downloadable, and we've just made them available in Tamil, in English.
Okay.
So they can go there and download them for free. We also put up regular content on our Instagram and Facebook pages where we do a lot of these debunking and workshops and everything, right?
Fabulous. I mean, it gave me great joy talking to you, and I can literally hear the passion in your voice for the work that you're doing. So God bless you and your team. This is gorgeous work that you're doing. Thank you, Anuja.
Thank you so much, Jimmy.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.